1 2 1 2. I go by the name of DJ What, and you're now listening to the original Jeek podcast. Let's go.
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut. Come on, cut for me.
Oh yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
Fresh.
Yeah, making me itch.
What up, Jeeks? My name is Rockin' Mr. Magic, and he is...
Unique DNA.
And this is the original Jeek podcast. Unique DNA, my man, what's up?
What's up? Back with another one. We need the DJ Khaled. Another one.
Back, and my man froze. Oh, no.
There we go. I'm back.
He's back. All right.
Internet. The worst internet.
That's all good. So aside from bad internet, what's going on?
Not much, man. I'm here. The usual. Staying busy.
Okay.
Keeping busy. Let's see. PWC. I guess just jumping right into it. I started playing.
Okay.
What did I start playing? I jumped back into No Man's Sky for a little bit.
Okay.
A little bit of time.
A little bit.
Because I want to get into that new expedition they got going on. And I realized I'm totally lost. I forgot all the controls. Forgot everything. Forgot to fly. So this is gonna be fun. I forgot where all my bases are. So that's gonna be fun.
Well, that shouldn't be hard to find.
Yeah, the bases should be easy. I just gotta find a portal. And
Or just go to any space station.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's interesting. I watched Sweet Tooth on Netflix.
Okay, that looks interesting.
It's very interesting. I didn't know what to expect going in because just looking at the cover, I was like, what is this about? But I gotta say, it was interesting. It grabbed me. It's definitely sci-fi, which I didn't expect. I guess it's more science fantasy, but it's science fiction, science fantasy. Either way, it's pretty cool, interesting, pretty good story. I can't wait for season 2 because they left us on a cliffhanger. Let's hope Netflix doesn't do what Netflix does,
right?
And do their thing. But good show. Should watch it. It's only, I think it's like 9 episodes, something like that. But that was awesome. I don't want to spoil anything because from the beginning there's a lot that just kind of gets revealed. They don't waste any time. So I won't talk about what it's about other than whatever's in the trailer. You can go watch the trailer and kind of figure it out for yourself. But so that was good. What else have I been watching lately? I guess that was the only thing I really been watching.
Okay.
And then what else I started playing Pokemon again because
nice.
Why not? Yeah, I got the Switch and why not? And I realized that I didn't I got like 5 gym badges and I'm like, I didn't finish it. Which I don't know why I thought I did, but whatever. So I'm finishing out that campaign. And then I guess I'll just go around and see what Pokemon I can find, catch them all and all that,
Gotta catch them all.
And then creating wise, nothing. Well, I shouldn't say nothing in particular. We got Jeek Nation, and then I got Dwella, and then one of my friends from here at the church dragged me into another podcast. I won't say dragged. I was interested, but he wanted to start a podcast, and Um, I'm kind of the only one with the expertise, so he was like, "Yo, I got this idea for a podcast. It's faith based, and we just kind of talk about current events and stuff like that." So it's me, him, and two of my other friends from the church,
Okay.
and so that's been fun. We haven't launched yet, but we got a couple episodes in the bank. But so we should be launching soon, probably next week, depending on how fast I get this cover art done.
Okay.
Um, so it's falling on me to get this cover art done, and then we can post and stuff. But we got
Nice.
about 3-4 episodes in, so when we post, we'll be kind of already rolling, which would be
Yeah.
good. So yeah, that, and then just doing my regular stuff: photography, videography, all that stuff.
The norm.
Yeah, the huge.
The
And
usual.
yeah, that's pretty much it, man. It's been very busy. I cannot wait until my wife is done with work for the summer.
Mm.
Because she's got 2 more weeks, and then school
2
is
more weeks?
out. Yeah, roughly. I think
That's like the end of June, bruh.
it's always the end of June. Jersey sucks when it comes to school.
Wow.
Um, so yeah,
Bro,
but
that
that'll be
don't make no
great.
sense, man. These kids have been like home. They ain't missing no snow days or nothing.
Bro, it's been like that since I can remember. Well, no, not since I can remember, but like I remember somewhere around maybe my freshman year in high school, it was like Jersey just kept getting later and later, and they kept
That's
pushing it back
crazy.
later and later. Like I remember we used to get out like early. We would get out like June 12th, June 15th, and then like somewhere along the line, they were just like, "Hey, you know what we could do? It's just like add another week onto school." And yeah, it was horrible because like my cousins, my cousin lives in
Yeah.
PA, and they were always getting out like a week or two ahead of me, and I'm just like, how are you guys out of school already? They'd be like, they would come down and like stay with us, and like I had to get up every day and go to
And go to
school.
school and they be like,
Like,
bye.
and they'd be like chilling at home, and I'm like, yo, you chilling at my house, eating my food, playing my games while I gotta go to school.
That's terrible.
So
Oh,
yeah,
snap.
so it's been like that for a long time, and yeah, so I just can't wait to when she gets out, because then that means I got a lot more free time. Because right now it's like she's at work, I got the kids,
Yeah.
then she comes home, we do the handoff, do the parent shuffle,
Right.
and I'm off to do work, which is cool, except for like my plate is so full now. It's like,
Word.
man, I'm like, if I'm not recording, I'm editing like every single day.
Yeah.
I got to record today. I'm recording here on the podcast, and then I got to record for the church. So, yeah, it's just been it's a blessing because I'm busy, but it's also like I'm busy.
You busy.
Yeah, it's
That's
crazy.
true.
But
Wow.
yeah, man. That's been my week.
That's cool.
Uh,
Cool.
what's up?
With me, same old. Since I still ain't working, all I'm doing is trying to create stuff. I had a great time. So last week was cool because I got 2 more episodes of Classic Colloquy recorded. I had a really good time with a first time guest, Cameron Franklin from the One Geek 411 podcast.
Nice.
Really had a really good time with him, especially for it being our first time like ever interacting. It was really cool. And let's see. Been playing Destiny as normal. Playing No Man's Sky. Um, been watching. Been watching my some usual stuff. I started to do my rewatch of Battlestar for the year, and actually like get through it this time. So because last time I tried to restart it, I only went a couple episodes in, and then something distracted me, and oh no, the wife wanted to watch it too, and then so I waited for her, and then
yeah, that always throws things off.
yeah, then it never came to fruition. So I was like, I'm just gonna restart it, and if she decides to come in and watch it, that's cool, whatever. So start rewatching Battlestar. Still watching still watching Dragon Ball Super. Just watched the baseball episode, which was hilarious. That was funny. I wish I would have seen that episode before I challenged y'all to put together this baseball team on Dweller, because I would have made sure that y'all didn't have any DBZ people in there, but you didn't anyway, which was kind
Yeah,
of
we did.
surprising.
Yeah,
Wait,
we did.
you did?
Big Country picked Yamcha.
Oh yeah, you're right. Big Country picked Yamcha, which made sense.
Yeah.
And Yamcha in the pit on home base was hilarious. I was dying. That was quite entertaining. Like, look, this is kind of familiar. Him lying on the crater like that. I was like, yo, they playing Yamcha out
all the time, man. All the time.
Oh man, that was hilarious. Yeah, so that's that. I've been watching that. I'm trying to think of anything else I've been watching. Aside, well, obviously the NBA playoffs. Um, you know, Chris Paul was my MVP. He's still my MVP. Jokic didn't deserve it, in my opinion.
Not at
He's
all.
good. I thought he should have been in consideration, especially maintain the level of play with Jamal Murray going down. But my man don't play defense. And I'm sorry, the Suns weren't even in the playoffs. Second best record in the West. How do you not give Chris Paul the MVP? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it's always been a popularity contest anyway.
Still though, like
that's why I don't really.
CP3 got robbed. And to me, when they robbed Jason Kidd, when they gave it to Tim Duncan and said Jason Kidd, that was the first to me like devaluing the MVP awards. Like, hey, come on, Jason Kidd's clearly the most valuable player. He took a team that was like had like the worst record in the league, or like next to worst record in the league, and the next year in the NBA Finals. You can't tell me that there's anybody more valuable to their team than Jason Kidd. So Chris Paul's the most valuable player, and he's proving it. And they swept the Nuggets, and he showed it. He had the impact. And the man had what, 4 games and like 6 or 7 total turnovers in 4 playoff games in the semifinals. Like, come on. Like, who does that? Who has a game where they score at least 15 assists and 0 turnovers?
Yeah, well, it's only been done 4 times, right?
And he's done 3 of them.
Right.
Yeah, like 3 of the 4 times it's Chris Paul who's done it. Like, if they want to give some more awards out, a playoff MVP would be good. And right now it's Chris Paul.
Especially considering that the Nuggets are out of the playoffs.
Done. And it wasn't close.
Right.
Like it wasn't even close. There wasn't one game where it's like, oh, the Nuggets may win this game. No, like it wasn't close.
A total sweep.
Yes.
Just like that's why I said like the MVP for me has always been like it's just a popularity contest. Even since all the way back then when Jason Kidd got robbed, snubbed, if you will.
He got robbed. I'll call it what it is.
I always just kind of been like, yeah, I don't even care anymore. So because the ones that deserve it, it seems like they don't get it. And it's like, how's your MVP get swept?
Like
your MVP got swept.
So that they showed there was an image I think ESPN posted out of MVPs that got swept in the playoffs that season. Kareem in '77 in the Western Conference Finals. Moses in the 79 playoffs. I forget which round. Magic in the 89 finals, which, I mean, it happened, but I don't count that because Magic, he played all of game one with a strained hammy, and then he pulled it
Right.
into game two. And so he played 10% of game two, and he tried to play again in game three. And I don't think he suited up at all for game four. But like the man didn't play. So
Right.
like I can't even personally, I don't count that against Magic.
Right.
And then Jokic. Like like yo, I mean again, yeah, missing Jamal, I know, but still the real MVP showed out.
Right. And then that's the point, right? If you're an MVP, it shouldn't be there shouldn't be any points of contention like, oh well, or excuses, I should say. Well, you're missing one of your core role players, or you're missing, like, you're the MVP. You should be carrying. You're carrying the team anyway. If you really are the MVP, you're carrying the team anyway.
And it falls
The
on
real
you.
MVP, right, is going to carry the team. So, I mean, yeah, I don't even want to talk about it.
Anyway, it was wild because every game Chris just played better and better, and he dropped 37 in the closeout.
Right.
And as I'm watching it, I'm like, yo, they cannot stop Chris from getting to his spot. And it's like I know where Chris is going.
All know
he's headed to the right elbow, and he's gonna shoot that side fade. And it's like, yo, do you know how to play deep? Are you gonna try to keep him away from his spot, or are you just gonna let him dribble to the spot because he's gonna go there and he's gonna hit that jumper? And yeah,
every time.
Yeah, it's great to watch. The Clippers and Jazz has been fun so far. I think they played again tonight. Hoping that the Clippers win because I want to see that keep going. And the playoffs. The playoffs have been great. I think the numbers have been up like 30-something%, and that's without LeBron. That's without LeBron in the playoffs. And I think without the Lakers and Celtics, it's like wild. So people are happy, apparently, that there are some fresh faces and fresh teams in the playoffs and going forward, which is super cool.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what I've been watching, and it's good stuff. I'm very excited for the just because I think we might actually see a crowning of a brand new first-time champion, like we talked about last week, which would be cool.
I mean, at this point, it has to be.
No, it doesn't have to be because the Sixers are probably going to beat Atlanta. I don't see Atlanta winning. And then the Sixers would face whoever comes out of the what's that matchup? I was just thinking about it.
Talking about on the East.
Yeah, the Nets and the Bucks.
The Nets and the Bucks.
Yeah. So if the Nets win, they've never won the championship. But if the Bucks win, they haven't won since Kareem, but they have won. So and obviously the Sixers have won in the past too. So it would take the Nets winning to the finals to be the first-time champion, and then the Clippers, Jazz, and Suns. Obviously, they've never won. So for the Western Conference team, it would be a first-time, champion.
Cool. I like the odds.
Yeah, the odds are definitely depends on who comes out the East. Because I honestly, Philly's really good. Everyone's talking about Brooklyn, but I think people need to not forget about Philly because if Embiid's playing,
Well, Brooklyn's gonna have they're in trouble now.
Yeah, because they're down 2 stars.
Yeah, Kyrie's. Who knows what's gonna happen?
Who knows what's going on with that ankle? Yeah.
Yeah, and
James is out.
Yeah, he's He's in and out. So yeah, they're
And they
they're in a
said
little bit of trouble.
James and Kyrie are out for tomorrow's game.
Which I mean, I guess it makes sense, right? Because they were up. They were up 2.
Yes.
So you rest them up. Maybe you lose game. This is what we going into game 5,
Was it gonna be game 5? Yeah.
right? So maybe you lose game 5, which means you go into a game 6 situation. Hopefully by then, at least one of them is
Healthy enough.
75% at least, or hopefully both, or at least 75% to play, and you pull out game 6, and you win game 6 and win game 7. But yeah, it's gonna be that was definitely going all the way to game 7.
I think so
Um,
too. And I think if I'm Steve Nash, because game 5's at home, I'm hoping KD has a statement game, goes bonkers, drops 40, 50, and you win. And then you hope that you win game 6 back in Milwaukee, knowing you might not, especially because Milwaukee's been bodying them up and playing some old school bully ball on them.
some very old school bad boy ball.
Yes, they've been playing some bully ball on them. And if you lose that one, then you know you've got home court game 7, and because the X-rays were negative on Kyrie, hopefully his ankle is good enough that he can play game 7, and maybe James can play. I don't. Who knows what what's the hammy. That's a whole tricky thing, but
Yeah.
at least the ankle. Hopefully, Kyrie should be available for Game 7, and then you have a
Yeah,
better
I
chance
mean,
at home.
yeah, I mean, tomorrow, if old school Blake shows up, KD
Don't
goes
even say
off,
that name to me.
and Joe Harris does his thing, they got a good chance. They got a good chance. Um, but Blake has been iffy at best. Jarvis
I
Harris
just
has
want
been.
them. I want them to lose just because of him. Like he don't deserve nothing. Like I need a cuss button, even like just because just to replace the things that I want to say to Blake Griffin, because he a punk and he owes Detroit about $40 million.
Well, politics aside,
His lack of effort and not even
if he if
trying.
he if he shows up, if the old Blake shows up, and like I said, and Harris he's been consistent all playoffs. He's been putting up decent numbers, and they got a pretty good solid bench. They'll do all right. Um, it'll be a close game for sure.
Yeah, this whole
I'm
thing's
not
gonna be
gonna say they're
close.
gonna win, but they got a better chance of winning if he shows up.
Well, they're still the
Um,
favorites because Giannis has not been playing like a superstar.
right.
So as long as Giannis isn't playing like a superstar, and and at least one of the net stars is, it's going to be close and they have a shot.
Right.
All right, so since we're running low on time, going to quickly jump into some quick hits here. Quick hit number 1, and I wish I was trying to save this for a Reboot Police, but it was just so egregious that I had to bring it up. There's going to be a new Munsters movie, and I love the Munsters, but
I did too.
Rob Zombie is set to direct the Munsters movie. What? Yeah, just what? Like why? And I'm scared for what this is going to be. What do you think?
He doesn't have a good track record. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. What this could go so many different ways. Like, I don't want to. First of all, nobody asked for this. I mean,
Yeah.
that's every that we start. We should just start with every Reboot Police with nobody asked for this. I love the Munsters. I used to watch it we talked about this on the Mountain Nerd podcast, but
Yes.
um, you know, that was my Nick at Night, man, and that was my childhood. The Munsters and Adam's Family and all of that.
Yeah.
Um, and like, yeah, it's just first of all, like just a reboot is already just a bad idea, in my opinion. Um, for so many different reasons. The casting was perfect. It's gonna be hard to find that cast again. Like I can't argue with anybody in the casting of the original Munsters.
Oh, they were fantastic. Fred
Um,
Gwynn as Herman Munster was masterful. He was great.
right. Like how do you replace him
Oh, you
with
can't. You
anybody?
can't replace Fred Gwynn. Are you kidding me? Nah.
And then anybody who they cast, even if they had a good director, um, would just be a bad imitation of Fred Gwynn, right?
Yes.
Like it would be a bad imitation, or they would just try and go totally opposite direction and be like gritty and dark and not the lovable, goofy, dad, that
Yeah.
he was. Um, yeah, so that already is bad enough because I'm just like, you're gonna ruin the casting just because everybody like you can't like how do you match that?
Bro, I don't know. And what you just said is my greatest fear is that because it's Rob Zombie and everything he's done has been, horror crazy, you know, stuff that's what he's going to do, and that's not the Munsters. The whole
Exactly.
premise of the Munsters was that they were legendary monsters that were just trying to live a regular life,
Right.
and the oddball for them was Marilyn Munster, who was the one that everyone thought was normal.
Right.
And for her, they were just normal because they were just normal people who just happened to live in a dusty old house and and be vampires and be werewolf and be Frankenstein like that. They were just trying to be normal people and
Right.
get along with their neighbors and go to tea parties and and play baseball and just
Right.
live this American life. And yeah, Rob Zombie is probably going to be like, oh, let's see if Herman and Lily eat their neighbor, or
Right.
I don't know, whatever Rob Zombie does. I can't even watch the trailers of his movies; they just look ridiculous.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad at a reboot if it was a television show and if it was of the same vein, because so much time has passed, technology, society, that a reboot could be fun if it was a TV show, if it was a sitcom again, and you just put the Munsters into today's society and let them be the Munsters. But a movie doesn't really fit the format
Not at all.
because I mean, as much as I love the Munsters, I couldn't watch a Munsters movie. That's too long. Like you can only do the same jokes of that nature for too long. It works as a sitcom because it fits in 22 minutes.
Yeah, you get your quick laughs
Yeah,
and move on.
exactly. As a movie, it's just that's too much, and I don't even want to see images of whatever Rob Zombie tries to put together. That's
Yeah,
just
not to mention, I mean, now that you mentioned that too, but like, what story do you tell? Like, is it an origin story? Like, how do you fit an hour and a half? Let's just say an hour and a half. And that's on the low end. Most movies run at least an hour and 50 minutes these days. Um, like, how do you fit? Like, what story do you tell in that time?
I have no idea what story you trying to tell in 90 minutes. And the thing is, like, why would you even? You don't need an origin story. Nobody
Right,
cares about the origin. We
right,
know who the family is. We don't need an origin.
exactly. So that doesn't really, make much sense. I mean, and then like even I'm thinking like, yeah, I don't know. I don't. None of this makes sense. None
No,
of
it really doesn't.
And yeah, like you said, I could definitely see them trying to take because I mean, it's 2021 and everything wants to take the dark, gritty edge, and we're gonna take everything that we want to make everything dark and dismal and brooding teenager, because you know
Is the CW
millennials.
underwriting this? Is the CW part of this?
The CW underwrites everything. Can we just be honest here? Everything has to be dark and brooding and gritty,
And full of
and
teenage angst.
if it's not CW, it's DC. So, um,
Oh, CW.
man.
All
So
right.
yeah, I mean, just terrible,
All right,
terrible,
let's
terrible.
return to the hardwood real quick. The NBA has mentioned that they are going to be considering rule changes in regards to jump shooter contact and unnatural motion that will go before the Committee Board of Governors. You and I have talked in the past about certain jump shooters, James Harden, uh, Reggie Miller, and such, over the years, and their leg kicks and ways to try to draw calls. What do you think about the NBA potentially making things a little more even for defenders?
I like the idea. The concept is there. I like the concept. Like the idea. But what I fear will happen is it's going to be over policed, and it's just going to it's gonna ruin the game. It's gonna slow down the pace. It's gonna, you know what I mean? Um, because it's just gonna be every little like misstep, every little kick, every little arm flail, even if it's accidental, is gonna be a whistle, right?
Mm. Do
And
you really think so? Because
I think so, because I mean that's just typically what happens with these when they make these rule changes. At least in the
yeah,
beginning,
no, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
it
you're right.
always gets
They get
over policed.
overzealous. Yeah, and they
Yeah,
overpolice it.
because they're just like, oh, new rule, and they just like, they go hard after it, which I understand because you want to enforce it, you want to kind of build that habit
But see,
and make
that's not
and
even
get
it.
people
I don't even think that's it. They go hard after it because let's be 100. The rules that change like this, traveling rules, carrying rules, shooting rules, are because you have a couple egregious offenders, and
right,
so that um, they don't want to have the visual that they're going after those egregious offenders. They
right. You got to go after
overzealously
everybody,
police it, and then you're right, it slows games down because we know this is really we could call this the James Harden rule. That's really
right,
what it's about.
right.
And
It's just like the carrying rule was for AI. Everybody knew
yes,
that,
everybody, yeah, because he was carrying the ball, and
right,
everybody was like, "How you gonna let this man just carry the ball?"
right,
Yeah, and if it was real, like, look, it's like, hey, James, stop kicking your legs out. Stop doing all these funky stuff to try to draw calls. But to me, as I have an easier fix, stop blowing the whistle when he does it. Like,
right,
why change the rule? Don't blow the whistle.
right,
If he's doing it, if he's initiating the contact like that, you know, don't blow the whistle.
right,
That's not. I wouldn't blow the whistle half the time with the stuff he does. Well, yeah, when he tries to draw that contact and he throws his body on the ground,
right,
looking like a soccer player flopping. Like, no, bruh, that wasn't a foul. This isn't. It's really not necessary.
right.
I mean, Trey Young does it a bit too, but
Yeah, I
there's
mean, there's
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 a
quite a
handful
few,
of no, there's a handful of egregious examples. James and Trey being the two biggest ones, but most players, this doesn't apply to them. This doesn't even apply to LeBron, and he's one of the king of floppers. LeBron don't be doing that. Every
right,
once in a while, if he tries, he may do it to draw a call, but I consider that gamesmanship because it's not on
right,
every single play.
right,
Steph don't be doing that. Clay don't be doing that. Dame don't be doing that. Shooters that shoot, they're not doing that. It's Harden, it's Trey, it's a couple others, and that's it. The
exactly,
Bogdanoviches aren't doing that. They're excellent shooters. Joe Harris is doing it. Ain't doing it. He's an excellent shooter. You know.
right. Yeah, so I mean, I agree. It's definitely a handful of bad apples. Um, and but like I said, I I'm glad that there's addressing it because the ones that are doing it are egregious and a little out of hand. But I mean, historically, we've always seen how this goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
It becomes this thing of like you, which I mean, that's a good point that I didn't think about, but it's like, oh well, we don't want to look like it's the James Harden rule or the AI rule or the, whatever. So we're just gonna go after everybody, but then it just, it ruins the pace of the game. It makes it just kind of like because the players also, they get apprehensive. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh well, I can't. I gotta change my form now.
Well,
Because
it shouldn't have they
they
shouldn't be
shouldn't
that.
have to.
Yeah, they shouldn't
But
be that big.
I
You should
mean,
know how to jump straight up and down to shoot a jump shot. You're in the
but I mean,
NBA.
just like in certain situations, maybe not all the time, but in certain situations where it's like I'm going up for a shot and just forward momentum, and which is what the call is really meant for in the first place, is like I'm going up for a shot and I just got the momentum and I can't slow it down, then whatever.
Right.
And so these things happen accidentally or whatever. And now it's like I might be a little bit apprehensive to go after that shot, or I might hesitate or whatever. And you know how that goes. As players, we know how that goes, right? You
We
mess
do
up
know how that
you
goes.
mess up the flow. And then like now I probably would have made that shot, but because I hesitated and it just threw off my form or whatever. So I mean I could just see it being, like I said, I could just see it being a problem all
Yeah.
around.
Well, especially if they do not make it clear what they consider unnatural.
Right.
Because if I go up for a shot and I'm fading to the side like the Chris Paul shot we were just talking about, um, that's a very natural shot. That's how he shoots it. We've seen it 100 times.
Right. But as a ref, I might, how do I look? Like if it's not clear defined, I'm like
natural, unnatural. Yeah.
So now, again, like I said, like that's where if it's not clearly defined, the players are gonna make their own definition of it. The refs are gonna have their own definition of it. The league is gonna have their own definition of it,
See,
and that's where it's gonna be a problem.
And that would be a problem. So for this to work, they need to clarify with the Players Association and probably come to agreement. This is what we consider unnatural motion, and you have X amount of days to respond if you think we're wrong, and with examples on what you think should be considered natural motion, and then come up with a decision. And to me, it's just, look, if James Harden's doing it, it's probably egregious and don't do it. If it's just a regular jump shot, if Chris Paul's fading to the side, you're fading back, and you know what? These guys who leap forward a little bit when they shoot their threes, I don't mind that because their legs aren't, their whole body's moving forward. Their legs aren't kicking out and whatever,
Yeah,
that's some people.
I might, as a defender, I might interpret that as you trying to draw contact, right? Because that's not a natural motion.
No, it is a natural motion.
Some
people just jump forward. We've seen that. We've seen that forever. Some people just jump forward.
Oh yeah, I'm playing.
You're playing devil's advocate. I got you. I got you.
As our Affinity Bros say, I'm playing Mephisto's advocate here. But
Mephisto's advocate, yes. Which is rubbish, by the way. We will see Mephisto or in Loki, I'm sure.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Moving on. Okay.
We just lost Max.
That's okay. Quick bit of news I think you'll find interesting. There was some backlash from WWDC. You and I offline mentioned that it was boring and
it was trash.
Nothing
just
happened.
Put it out there. It was trash.
Yeah. But some people are very, very upset because they expected that there would be a new MacBook Pro announcement, and there was not.
Well, they're stupid.
And what is often a tradition with WWDC is that some people will sell their MacBook Pro to get, to make a good amount of money because the value is pretty high then. and that will cover a lot, maybe 3/4 of the cost to buy the brand new MacBook Pro that would come out in probably like a week or two. Well, since that did not happen, and Apple did not reveal any new laptops, now there are a large number of people who sold their computers to gear up for new ones who no longer have a computer.
They're also stupid.
Have to go back and pretty much buy the same one they already had, or whatever the current, or just the current models that are currently out right now. Well, I was gonna ask you what you think, but you just said they're stupid.
They're stupid.
Unique DNA. So Unique DNA. Let's borrow from our friends at the Infinity Bros. Let's go through a 1 through 6 ranking. How stupid are they?
6.
6 out of 6.
6 out of 6. Yeah, no, I'll elaborate. I won't be that guy. But yeah, I mean, at this point, and I'm not even an Apple fanboy anymore. I was at one point, but I won't say I got burned by Apple too many times. I just saw through the veil. Um and my eyes are open and I was like, hey, wait a minute. We keep getting the same phone every year. Keep getting the same MacBooks and MacBook Pros every year, but the prices keep going up. How does that work? Um and though my iMac and my MacBook served me very well, they both lasted about 10 years. And actually, technically, my MacBook still works. I just need to um, upgrade a few things, um, which I just didn't feel like spending the money on. Yeah, when it came time to buy a new one, I was like, I could buy this MacBook for close to $3,000 for what I need it for, video
Yeah.
editing and such. Um, or I can go get this PC for half the cost and it's upgradable and I can buy my own parts and I can build it myself and all that yada yada yada
Yeah.
and
There's more
have it
freedom.
right. And I have more power, more accessibility, because I'm not locked into everything Apple, and I don't have to deal with the you know with Apple and their feelings. If today they wake up and they decide they don't like Adobe anymore because they've done that in the past, and I be screwed because I use largely Adobe for everything that I do
Yeah.
in my business. So, but I said all that to say, if you've been following Apple long enough, you know that they're kind of leaning towards each device having their own conference, if you will. And
Yes.
WWDC has more or less become about iOS more than anything else.
It's been a software thing the last 4 or 5 times.
Right. And then, in probably August or something like that, they're gonna have their because usually it's right before they go back to school, then they'll have their MacBook event
Right.
and their iMac event. And then they'll have in September, they usually have the iPhone event and the iPad. And so I mean if if you've been following them, you really are a fanboy, and even if you're not, because like I said, I'm not. You know that was a dumb decision.
Yes.
Um,
That was a really dumb decision.
because if you look just historically, like you said, the last 4 or 5 years, it was all going to be iOS anyway. And they may have talked about a new iPad, if anything, but definitely not a new MacBook. They
Yeah.
just announced a new MacBook back in what is it, August, when the M1 chips, when
Yeah.
all that stuff came out. That was
Exactly.
like
So
August.
yeah, so it's
So
like why yeah, this timing made no sense. Like why
yeah,
would you think this? Is they just put the M1 chip in the computer
right.
and
And it
everyone was
just
geeked
came
about
out.
it.
Yeah, it's just like I think they just started like shipping in December. I can't remember exactly because, like I said, I haven't been following that closely, but I think it was like December or January. They just started shipping them.
Yeah.
So, what makes you think less than 5 months later? I know Apple is greedy and they like to get their money, but come on, it hasn't even been a year yet.
Yeah.
Um,
Hadn't been
there's
half a
no,
year yet.
yeah, and historically they haven't been refreshing the MacBooks that often.
No, it's
Like,
been a year and a half to 2 years
yeah, easily,
refresh. Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, I didn't expect that, and so that's why if you sold your MacBook, you're stupid because I mean, come on,
Hey,
and
you ain't wrong. Like it's that is just it was not a wise move. And you were very clear on why. There's nothing I can add to that at all. So I'm going to leave that as is, and we are going to move into our final topic of this episode. This is our main event,
dun,
and
dun, dun, dun.
dun, 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 it is upcoming. Is by the when this episode comes out, it'll be a few days before Father's Day. So on behalf of the original Jeeks, myself and Unique DNA, we want to wish all the fathers a happy Father's Day. And in celebration, we're talking about big time, memorable sports dad moments. I have come up
Yes.
with a top 5 list. I'm going to run it by Unique DNA, see what he thinks, and see if there's any he wants to add or remove from my list. So, um, my top 5 sports dad moments. Number 1, and this is not in any particular order, these are just 5 really dope moments. But the last one I do think is the best. Number 1,
Spoiler alert.
well, this shouldn't be a spoiler. These are all events that happened.
Well,
If you
it's
missed
a
the,
spoiler that you already revealed your best one now.
oh yeah,
It's
okay, that makes sense.
so everybody knows to wait for the last one.
That's true. So my first one is the Harbaughs at the Super Bowl. For those who recall that Jim Harbaugh and his brother John coached the Super Bowl against each other with the Ravens against the 49ers. And there was a
Yep.
fantastic moment where their dad's taking a picture with them, both coaches at Media Day. And obviously, he's super proud that both of his boys were there to make history in the first ever brother coaches facing each other in the Super Bowl. It was a fantastic moment.
Yeah, that was an awesome moment. Um I don't know. It was one of those moments that I didn't realize until it was like brought up in the media, and I was like, oh yeah, that's true, and that's pretty cool. It was kind of like because you think about it, but you don't really. It's always kind of in the back of your mind, but it does, like you just kind of gloss over it
Yeah.
until like the media does. They make a big deal out of it, as they should have, because it was a historic moment and it was cool. It was a cool moment. Um, Super Bowl, both Super Bowl contenders. Um, an awesome moment as their dad to be able to say like, yeah, I'm the only dad in history as of right now that raised 2 Super Bowl contender
Coaches, right.
coaches.
And at the end of the day, I can say my son's a Super Bowl winning coach,
Right.
regardless of who
No
wins.
matter who wins.
No matter who wins.
The question is the son that won now his favorite son?
I still think Jim's his favorite son because Jim's the one who played in the NFL. But, and
Hey.
Jim's the one that played in Michigan and their dad coached in Michigan. So,
Yeah. But it's just it was a cool moment. I like that moment. That was a good one.
and it was good for John to get something up on Jim for once.
For once. Yeah, because you rarely hear about John. You hear about Jim more.
Yeah, we heard about Jim for a long time.
Long
Okay. Next moment, which is probably a big one for you. This is a big one for me. This one, honestly, I'm going to be very vulnerable. This one makes me cry every time I watch it. And this is Derek Redmond and his dad, Jim, at the 92 Barcelona games. So if you're not old enough to have seen this, Derek Redmond is a British track and field star, and he was running the 400 meters, and he pulled a hamstring. Actually, no, I think he tore it. He pulled or tore it, but it was really bad.
It was pretty bad.
It was
pretty
really bad. I'm pretty sure he tore it because it was ugly. And his dad made his way out of the stands onto the track, put his arm around his son. Derek put his arm around his dad, and they finished the 400 together. someone tried to come up and like put the camera in their face or whatever, and Jim, very angry, was like, I think he was like, "Get the F out the way" or something like that. He was like, "Get out of the way." But it is one of the seminal father-son moments in sports to me. It's a beautiful moment. Obviously, his dad was a huge supporter of his track career. His son's on the biggest stage in sports, doing the oldest sport there is in just racing and running. And his son had a shot at being in the final until that hamstring injury,
Yeah,
and carried his hobbled son who wanted to finish the race there. It's such a beautiful moment.
yeah, yeah. One of my favorites. Of course, I'm partial to it because it's track and field, and that is my sport. Um, and also being raised by a track dad. And one of the first lessons learning is you always finish the race.
That's right.
Um, yeah, it was just a great moment. I mean, I think about whenever I see it, I always think about the moments that I had with my dad on the track. Um, my dad coached my team. Well, he coached my freshman year. Yeah, my freshman year, he coached our team to um, the undefeated season.
Mm,
My high school team, we went undefeated for the first time in like I think it was like 50 something years.
wow.
Um, yeah, so we had a lot of great moments, and my dad coached me. Well, that led him to getting a job with another school. And of course, the high schools are coming out, and they're like, "What did you guys do? What's your secret weapon?" And come to find out, it was my dad was
Hmm.
our secret weapon, and so that let him get the job at another school, at a rival school at that. But yeah, up until that moment, it was. But even then, um, the next greatest moment, dad moment in track for me was when we went up against that rival school,
Okay.
and they had their star because I ran hurdles, and my dad ran hurdles, and so they had their star hurdler, and I was the star hurdler of my school, and so of course we faced off in the 400.
Okay.
And of course everybody, literally the entire field stopped for this race, like field events, everything, because usually
Yeah. The,
if you go to a track meet, especially high school, um, they're running all the events at the same time, especially field events and stuff like that,
yep.
for just for the sake of time.
Of course, you
And
can't pause
yeah,
everything per event. You'll
right,
be there for a week.
right. But literally everything stopped for everybody to come watch the 400 race of me versus I remember the guy's name. His name was George. It was me. It was literally me. Even though it was like everybody else on the, we got 8 lanes.
Yeah.
It was
It
me
didn't
versus
matter.
George.
It was you two. Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
me versus George. Never forget it. And I'll never forget that it came down to, like, he was fast. I gotta give it to him. He was fast, and it literally came down to a photo finish, and it was like everybody was like, "Who won? Who won?" And so my dad, being my dad, he was like, "I can't give it to my son," so he gave it to George. But we all know I won, um, because they left it up to the coaches to decide because it was high school. We didn't really have any finish line cameras and all that.
Yeah.
But but yeah, so like just watching that, I've seen it so many times. Uh, I remember the first time I saw it was actually on TV, but then seeing it replayed, you see it on like Facebook every once in a while. Every once in a while, it pops up on Facebook or social media in general,
Hmm.
and they have the video with the emotional music, and they have the text,
Yeah.
sprinkled in there, and they telling the story of how his dad was in the stands and how the security tried to stop him from getting on the
Hmm.
field, on the track, and he's like, "I gotta go. That's my son," and the whole thing. And then I think he said, um, I'm trying to remember, but I think when he went to pick him up, he was like, "I can't finish," or something like that. And his dad was like, "We're gonna finish it together." And it was just a good moment. It's just a great moment because especially black fathers,
Yeah.
um, you don't see a lot of moments like that with black fathers, just in general, and especially not in the media. So just to see that, and like for people to see that, like there really are good black fathers out there. Um, it's a great
Indeed.
moment. I won't dwell on it too long because I might get emotional. But yeah, I like that one. And if I had to pick my top five um, favorite, that would be my number one.
It's a great one. Like, yeah, it's not my number one, but emotion level, it's definitely the number one emotion level one for me. But all right, so I'll continue. So number three on my list is the Williams Show, the 1999 Lipton tennis final, where Venus and Serena met in a tennis final for the first time. Richard Williams in the stands with a sign that says the Williams Show, and as the tennis fans couldn't stand him, very loudly saying, "I told you so." As he is talking about his girls, um, and this was the precursor to their dominant run through women's
Mhm.
tennis. Just a fantastic moment. Richard Williams was right. As much as they hated him for it, it was right, and they were going to witness the start right there in 1999.
Yeah, that was a great moment. And it's funny, we talked, which the episode should be coming out this Wednesday, but like we just talked about Dwella, on Dwella, we talked about having confidence in your kids.
Yeah.
And that is a great example that we didn't bring up, but we
Well,
should have.
Richard Williams doesn't qualify as an anime dad, but he probably would have made a good anime dad.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, just that confidence in your kids. Like, listen, I know my girls, and I'm telling you, they are gonna dominate for the next however many years. Um, just because, and as long as they want to, it pretty much, and that's just awesome. I don't have any girls, so I don't know what that feels like, but I can imagine. I'm sure you know what it feels like to be so proud of your girls
Yeah.
and just knowing what they're capable of. Um, yeah, that's just awesome that moment. I kind of want to be a girl dad just for moments like
Think about
that.
this. Venus just lost, I think, in the semis of the French Open. It's 2021, and we're
Right,
talking about
and that was
1999.
1990. Yeah, so you're talking about 22 years.
Yeah,
Well, 20 years. That's a long
it's a
run,
long
man.
run.
It's a long run. He was
Um,
right.
so staying in the 90s, we have the 1997 Masters. Eldrick Tiger Woods wins the Masters and shares a momentous hug with his father Earl at the 18th hole at Augusta National. Tiger isn't the media darling he used to be, but this moment was huge. Just a the we know how much Earl meant to Tiger, um, for just life, obviously his career as a golfer, but just in life, and how much guidance and how much his father just meant to him. And people forget like his dad caddied for him for a while before he got too old for it.
Yeah.
Um, but like just how much his dad meant to him, and that hug was just at the culmination of winning the biggest golf event that there is was just amazing.
Yeah, it's another one of those moments, man. It's just raising your child, help raising your child in the sport, and just knowing how great, like the potential that they have,
Yeah,
and then finally seeing that come basically full circle, to this moment, and like that, because like a lot of times, either fathers don't get to see it, right?
hmm
Because like unfortunately, a lot of fathers pass away way too early. Like, Jordan is a
Yeah.
good example. Like, I mean, he's finally got to see him win a championship, but he didn't get to see he didn't get to see the fruition of his, like, the full fruition of his career.
Right.
You know, um,
Or that so sad story that's going around about Nick Batum's father.
right,
You know,
right.
passing
Another
away
one
on the court
on the
when
court,
Nick was 2 years old.
right?
Like,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So I mean, just like anytime I get to see those moments, whether it be a father and son, it's more special to me as a father and son, but even father daughter. Like
Hmm.
we just talked about with the Williams sisters. Um, I just think it's a great moment, man. Like, because not everybody gets to see that. 'Cause, I mean, not everybody. Number one, not everybody becomes a champion, right? Um, but then the ones that do, like, it's oftentimes their fathers are gone already. By the time they do.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, anytime that you get to see that, especially when you know how pivotal the fathers were in their lives, um, it's just great moments.
Absolutely. All right. So now the crowning one, the one I do put above all the rest, and that is the back-to-back home runs hit by Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. I don't think there's a better father-child moment in sports better than this one,
Yeah,
because obviously both father and son are on the field of play on the same team together, which is just an insane rarity.
yeah, yeah. And we talked about this before, a few episodes back, just about the
We talked
rarity
about
of
briefly
that.
last year, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so just that in itself is like, how often does that happen? Um, but yeah, that's just an awesome moment. I could imagine like the stories when they got home, like, just reliving the moment. It's just like talking about it. Um,
Or just how about just in the dugout after it happened? Really, like
yeah, yeah,
Junior finishes his trot, touches home plate, goes in the dugout, high fives his teammates, sits down next to his dad and says, "Dad, you realize you just hit a home run, and then I just hit a home run. Like, how crazy is that?"
right. Or even just sit down, and just like, yeah, you saw that, like, like that little nod, because like, when you get to a certain age, like you kind of become competitive with your dad because
Oh,
you can
absolutely.
be. Like I know me and my dad were like that. Like my dad was always faster than me for the longest time until like probably my junior year in high school.
Hmm.
Um, and part of it was because like he wasn't working out as much and stuff like that by that time. And yeah, like that was when the moment just kind of became like, I could take you now. Like come on, let's get on the track. We could, because before it was like get on the track and like nah,
Nah, we're good.
nah.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, you want, okay, let's go. 100 meters, let's go. you know. Um, so yeah, man, I can imagine. At least I know if it was me and my dad, we'd definitely be having some back and forth
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
dugout. I mean, we used to do that anyway. I remember I would um like I would go to invitationals or stuff like that, and sometimes when he couldn't be there, and I'd be like, oh yeah, like I remember when I ran my personal best at the time, and it was like I had finally broke 10 seconds on the 110-meter hurdles,
Okay.
which was huge.
That's
Um,
that's really huge. Yeah.
yeah, I was like 10, like just under 11, but I finally broke it, and yeah, my dad was like, "How fast you run?" And I was like, "Oh, it was like 10:59 or something like that, or whatever it was. I don't remember exactly." And he's like, "Oh yeah, when I was your age, I was doing like 10:46. You still got a ways to go." Like, and it was just like the conversation. It was fun. It was that fun, like back and forth competition and that banter and whatever. So like that's why I said like I could just imagine them going home and like sitting down around the table, ready to eat dinner or whatever, and just like, So you just thought you were gonna show me up, huh? Just hit a home run right after me. That's what you thought you were gonna do, So yeah, it's a great moment. It's a great moment, and like you said, it's so rare for father son to play. Like you see siblings, right? You see that all the time.
You see siblings, you see cousins,
but you rarely see a father son, or even just recently we had a son and his mother playing at the same time.
Was Pam playing? I thought Pam. I thought they made history because she's the first professional women's player to have a son play in the NBA, but I don't think she's actively playing. I mean, she might be.
I thought she was playing that game. I thought she played that game. I have to look it up.
Pam was on that USC team back with Cheryl Miller and Coop way back in the 80s. Like, Pam she's up there. I don't know if she's playing in her 50s. You might be right.
Well, maybe. I thought they said she was playing, but I could have read it wrong.
She might be. But I'm just like, I would be very surprised if Pam was still playing pro ball at her age. And if you don't know who Pam is, we're talking about Pam McGee, the mother of NBA player JaVale McGee. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't remember. I thought they were playing at the same time, but I could be wrong.
I'll have to look that up, but maybe you might be right. I mean, JaVale's been in the league for a while.
Yeah, and I just remember seeing it on the news. Well, at the time, I remember seeing it on the news. This has been a while now, so it wasn't that recent, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's super dope. Yeah, I mean, whether they had active careers at the same time, or whether he played, her career was beforehand. Still, that's very cool. And another rarity, mother and son, having pro careers is not a common thing.
Not at all.
Awesome. So, are there any that you would change? That you can?
Nah, I mean, I think that was a solid. List. And off the top of my head, I can't think of any that I would add to it. But yeah, I think that was a solid list.
I'm with it. Cool. Means I did my job. Click. Producer, check. Well, check that off. Well, Jeeks, that's going to complete this episode of the original Jeek podcast that we made to bless your ear balls. I am your host, Rockin' Mr. Magic. He is Unique DNA, and we could not do this show without your continued support. So please continue to press play, share, review the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Castbox, and more. And if you can't find us, let us know at jeeknation@gmail.com or message us on Facebook, Twitter, or IG at Jeek Nation. Have a happy Father's Day, and until next time, peace.
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut. Come on, type for me.
Oh yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
This is DJ What, and you're listening to the original Jeek podcast.